Hey guys, Ray Bashir here with Blue Shield Tactical Systems. Today we're going to be talking about using force striking, criminality, those type of things. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I've been asked recently, and I've had several conversations with civilian friends that have come up, and they talk about a particular video that they've seen that's out there, and they said that, well, the officer was on top of him, he was striking him, punching him in the face, and that's against the law. You can't do that. If I did that, I would be arrested. And what they don't understand is there's a big difference there. And why is there a big difference there? It's because the law enforcement officer didn't just go up there, throw someone on the ground, and start punching them in the face. That's not the circumstances that's generally going to happen. Otherwise, they probably have already done something else and they've been fired anyway. Generally, it's going to be what? It's going to be the suspect, or the person that they're dealing with, the civilian they're dealing with, that's pulling away from them, resisting their arrest, and it ends up in that physical confrontation where the officer uses strikes to get distance, or they go to the ground and the officer is using what's readily available to him, which is his hands or feet, to be able to change the mindset of this individual who is actively resisting that officer. And I know that some of the civilians will, some of the friends I've had, they said, well, why can't they just use Taser? They should be able to just use it and be able to stop the person. Well, one thing, the Taser doesn't always work. Okay. The other thing is, not every department out there has Tasers. And I know most of you think, well, yeah, every one of them. No, they don't. They don't have Tasers. Not every one of them has Tasers. There's been administrators that have taken Taser away from those officers. It is a fantastic tool for law enforcement. But they have a misunderstanding of it as well, and they automatically believe that the Taser causes death. So they've pulled those from the officers, and they don't allow them to use them, which is, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous. The Taser saves lives, and that's the reason why it's there. It's a tool that is on the officer's belt. So if they don't have the Taser, then they're more apt to go to their gun. If they don't have the Taser and they don't have pepper spray, they're going to go to baton or gun, or they're going to use strikes to be able to get the individual under control. So, I hate to see the departments that are out there that don't have the tools necessary to be able to protect the officers that are out there on the street. And trust me, they're out there. But going back to the strikes themselves, I haven't seen a video, and I say this, there is one video that I remember that's out there that an officer has a person cuffed in the backseat of a car. I don't know if the guy was saying something to the officer or what it may be, but he pulled over, he opened the door, he started hitting the guy that's cuffed in the backseat, and he had charges pressed against him, and I'm sure that he ended up going to jail over it. And most likely he should have. I don't know of that under those circumstances why it would be reasonable to do that. But these videos that we're seeing, we're only seeing a portion of it. We're not seeing all of the video. Now, if a citizen doesn't want to be punched or doesn't want to have a Taser used on them, a pepper spray, baton, or gun, the easiest thing to do is to not resist the police. Not put yourself in those situations to where the officer has to strike you. Not putting yourself in a situation where the officer has to use force. And the easiest thing to do is to turn around, place your hands behind your back, get cuffs put on you, and not have that issue. Go to court just like I would do if I were arrested by a law enforcement officer. Even if he said, well, I committed a crime, I said, no, I didn't. I wouldn't pull away from him. I wouldn't resist him. I wouldn't strike him. I wouldn't try to grab him. I wouldn't do any of those things. I would place my hands behind my back. They would place cuffs on me, and I would say, okay, now I'm going to go to court. I'm going to make a complaint with the department, whatever it may be, because this was not a good arrest. And those are the ways to deal with it. But the individuals that we're seeing out there on the street that are getting punched are actively resisting law enforcement. They're pulling away. They're doing criminal activity, and that's the reason why they're ending up in that situation. So next time you're seeing an officer out there on the street and they're punching someone, don't automatically come to the conclusion that the officer is somehow breaking the law, because in most cases they're not. Not that it's not going to be reviewed, because it is. But most of the cases they're not. There's something that's happened beforehand, because we're only getting a piece, and the video again is just a piece of that evidence. The witnesses are there, the other parts, the other officers' videos that may be there, the dash cam, the body cams, all those things are going to be looked at. And that's the only way we can come to a conclusion about something, is to look at all the evidence that may be present. Now, I realize that civilians don't have necessarily that information, to be able to make that decision. Only thing they see is a cell phone video. And so they automatically come to the conclusion that the officer's wrong because they see him punching him, and they say, well, it's excessive force and those type of situations, because they don't have the evidence. They didn't get to see the body cam that showed the guy grabbing the police officer. They didn't see any of that. And remember, there's always a weapon that's present out there on the street with that officer, and that's on himself or herself. Officers are killed every year with their own weapon. And during those conversations, officers don't have time to be able to stop and say, ask the civilian who's resisting them, what is your intention? Are you planning on just running away from me? Are you planning on, getting on top of me, punching me, taking my weapon away from me, killing me? They don't know. They can't ask them, hey, do you have any weapons on you during the physical confrontation? So understand, a lot of times, it's the unknown. And is that officer afraid for their safety during that physical confrontation? I guarantee you they are. And if you've never been in a physical confrontation with someone, never been in a fist fight, you don't know how the adrenaline's going. You don't understand where you are about your physical safety at that time, because you are. And police officers are just human. They came from the civilian population. They've just been trained some on how to deal with people in those physical confrontations, and to use the tools that are on the belt and to enforce the law. They've been called to that calling, and if you want to see something change there in law enforcement, you think it should be something different, then, go into the field of law enforcement. Go into the field and make a difference yourself. Make a change. And if you can do something better that works, hey, why not? I think you'll be very surprised, though, when you get into that kind of type of situation, you start getting training on dealing with someone who's resisting you. And you'll realize it's much more difficult than you ever thought it was. So, guys, I hope you'll at least get something from this video. You'll think about it a little bit before you come to that conclusion next time, that when you see an officer automatically punching someone, that they're wrong. Again, remember that generally there's something happened beforehand that precipitated this, that them pulling away from the officer. It's also supported by law for them to be able to use physical force. By Graham versus Connor, you can more than welcome to look that up as well. Is it reasonable for the officer in those circumstances to do that, to use strikes, or to use taser, or use pepper spray, or those type of things? And generally it is. So I hope all of you are safe. If you ever have any questions, please let us know, and you can visit our website at blueshieldtactical.com. We have a lot of videos on there. We also have policeofficertraining.com, where you can search law enforcement courses across the United States. We have videos on there as well, and a blog. So join us on there. Join us on blueshieldtactical.com. Thanks, guys. Be safe out there.